Hello there, Scotty. You're not. And we're talking about Amityville 2, The Possession now, moving on to that. And I'm not, you're not going to be surprised by saying most of these, except for the last two, are first time watches. This is the first time watch. I I might have to say I think this one was a little bit better than the first one. Just, putting it out there. I think it was better, a little bit better. More was going on. There's like an incest thing that I didn't particularly care for, but it's not long. You don't actually see anything go on. It's just like it's mostly implied, but you don't really see any, or any. There's not really. Of course, it's rated R. I can see, but you don't even. It's not really even a sex scene. It goes to start like they're gonna do it, cuts away. That's good. You don't want to think about that stuff. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. And then there's like the end of this movie feels tacked on. Like you think it should end at a certain point, and then it keeps going. This is it can be considered a prequel. With the, it feels like this was meant to be the DeFeo family, but they changed it. And I don't know if it was because they couldn't get the rights to the name DeFeo and replaced it with another Italian family, or they like the producers or the studio took one look at the script and said, no, you can't do this to that family. They've been through enough. You have to change the name. Because they went full Exorcist on this movie, almost to its benefit. Almost like there's body horror. There's a lot more stuff going on. Where the first one was your typical haunted house film, this feels like they went the Exorcist route and other, body horror, Exorcist stuff like that, and I think it works for the most part. Like I said, end part is tacked on 40 minutes or so. So the Montelli family moves into the Amityville horror house, and they're like a typical happy family. You have the patriarch, the father, Mr. Montelli, played by Paul Lee, Burt Young, Paul Lee from uh, the Rocky movies, and then the oldest daughter, Patricia, is played by Diane Franklin, gorgeous Diane Franklin, who is from, well, I would know, Better Off Dead, and of course, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. She's also been in The Last American Virgin and other stuff that manner, and she's a very gorgeous woman. Even now, she's still. I go for an older woman before you wag your tails. I wasn't even born yet when she came out, and she was 20 years old here. I was born in 87. She was 20 years old in 1982. So, when I was born, she was 25. So think of that. She could be my mother. It's still, not if she was my mother, but you know what I mean. She's that age. She's at that age, older than my mother. She's like 60 years old. I'd still do her. I still hit that. And people, well, like she let you. Well, she let her brother. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, and they move into this house, and right away something is going wrong. The plumber guy goes in, and get the flies, and then it targets the brother. Now I was sitting here confused. I'm like, if this is supposed to be after the DeFeo, shouldn't it be the father? Well, after I decided to look it up, and I'm a man enough to admit I was wrong. Ryan DeFeo Jr. was in fact the son, the oldest son. I thought he was the dad. Sorry. So, I got confused because George Lutz was the dad. I thought it was the dad every single time. I was ready to see Paulie kill people. I'm sorry. I was. It didn't happen. You could watch him be an ass, but that's Paulie. So, he's basically playing Paulie, but more angry. It's like one of his only horror credits. It's a very dark turn for him, but he's basically a more evil version of Paulie. Hitting his wife, hitting his kids, So much like the original, they call the mom has the priest come in to bless the house, but this time it's actually Paulie. I'm gonna keep calling him Paulie, by the way. Nick kicks him out because he's hitting his children in front of the priest. Though you shouldn't do that. He goes, "Don't tell me how to raise my kids. Don't tell me how to treat my kids. Get out!" And he gets out and he goes out and his Bible hasn't ripped to shreds. And now was it Sonny, or which is the oldest son here, Sonny, Ronnie, or was it the house itself? We don't know. There's some great body horror stuff. You see him like look kind of disfigured, which again is probably why they didn't use Ronnie DeFeo, because that wasn't implied. They went more of a demonic. Like there was some sort of that in the first one. They went more demonic with this one. They really full out went. They're like, Exorcist was a good movie. Let's do this. So, yeah. Hey, I think it worked for the most part. And yeah, so then, right away you see there's some sort of attraction between the brother and sister, but they don't do anything until he's possessed, and then they do, and she just sort of lets him. Like she's a little weird about it at first, and then he's like, "Take off your dress," and he's like, "My dress," or his gown, whatever, nightgown, my nightgown does, and then they kiss, and then you see nipple, and the actress was 20. But, if you're a little weirded out, I don't know if she's supposed to be underage, if she's 18, I don't know. But nipple for me. And it cuts. And she's in a church. She's, confessing her sins. And, yeah. And at this point, like, I think this is where, like, the priest, there's something else going on. He tries to come back in. It doesn't work. And then the mother automatically knows something happened. Well, like it's Sonny's birthday. They hug, and she sees him like rub her back, and automatically that means, oh, they fucked. Okay, sure. You can't rub someone's back. Okay, sure. Guess not. But she does freak out. What have you done? And it's apparently her fault, even though Sonny technically seduced her. But blame her. And then we get, to tell him to kill them. Doesn't do it at first. And then eventually we get the scene, right? He goes in. He kills the family. It's a little more drawn out than what we saw in the first one. But this isn't supposed to be the DeFeos, even though it most likely is supposed to be, but different story. He does it. And then he gets arrested, right? And this should be where the movie ends. But it doesn't. We got almost like 40 minutes of movie left after this. And I'm sitting there going, okay, that was quick. It's almost over. And then, no, he's arrested. We're still going. The priest shows up. And he's at the police station. He's saying, hey, I got to perform an exorcism. And then, once again, another thing that they took from the first one, besides the flies, is you have the priest trying to get permission. It's a time trying to tell people something's going on. They don't believe him. And now, even at this, after something's happened, he's still trying to get permission. Fuck permission. You know there's something going on. Do it. And he eventually does. He tries to take him to the church, but he flips out, and then fire goes everywhere outside the church, and he's gone, and he goes back to the house, because we got to end this at the house. So he goes back to the house. There's where he performs the exorcism and get great body horror, face coming off, which is really cool. And the demon is taken out of Sonny. Sonny is once arrested again, taken back to jail, because we're gonna follow that. If it's not gonna be right to fail, why not have Sonny die? I'm just saying, why follow that he still goes to jail if it's not Ronnie DeFeo? I'm just saying. But we're left with the implication showing us that the priest is now taken over by the demon, which I assume we will follow in the third one, Amityville 3D. So, kind of want to see what they do with that. Kind of interested in finding that out. see where they take it. So, yeah, overall, not bad. I'm actually going to say, when it comes to Amityville 2, the possessions, pretty good. The only things that I didn't really like was the incest, of course, and the tacked on extra 40 minutes that this movie should have ended. Like, there wasn't good stuff in that last 40 minutes. There was, but it did seem like there was a lot of talking, out of the priest trying to talk to people just to get to that ending with the thing where, why, don't know why you couldn't just do it this way, scrap all that, him get arrested, have this happen after he kills the parents. The priest shows up, he does, because they go back to the house anyway, he does the exorcism on Sonny, exorcises the demon there, he's arrested, and then imply that the priest is infected with the demon there. Saved you about 30 minutes. You may need like an extra 10, 15 maybe. But you gotta add another 40. It's gotta be arrested. You gotta have him try to get permission, and then you gotta have him go back and forth. You gotta have him take it to the church, but then a fire happens. They gotta go back to the house, and then you gotta do this whole exorcism thing, and then you got 40 minutes for that. And you get tacked down an extra 10, 15 minutes. You just did it at that house without having to take him away. Just have the priest show up first, like I said, have him do the exorcism, then the cops show up, then he gets arrested, and yeah. I don't know how you'd explain the priest. Maybe the priest dies too? I don't know. Because if this is supposed to be the 1974 case of the DeFeos, by 1977, which is when the first one takes place, there's like no priest can go in there, no neighbors can go in there. It's just something so evil in there. So what if like this movie ends with him doing the exorcism, but the priest dies, and that's the first, it gets stronger within the house, and the priest dies, and then they arrest Sonny, and then it's the end of the movie. He killed the priest and parents, whatever. I know a priest isn't mentioned, but if this is not actually the DeFeos, then they've taken liberties already in more ways than one. You can do that. I'm not saying you didn't need an extra 40 minutes, okay? But yeah, pretty good nonetheless. So, Amityville 3D is next, and kind of looking forward to that. See where they take it with the priest, but yeah. So, what are your thoughts on Amityville 2, The Possession? Leave comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.